going to begin tonight with the lengthy prison sentence handed down to former Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick.
7 investigator Heather Catala, who has been covering the City Hall corruption case since the very beginning. Heather was inside the courtroom when the sentencing came down today. Heather begins our Team 7 coverage from outside the federal courthouse. Heather?
Well, inside the courtroom, it was a very dramatic day. The judge said it was the citizens of Detroit who suffered when they handed over their hard-earned tax dollars and got corruption in return. And now Kwame Kilpatrick is going to pay for that.
28 years behind bars for Detroit's disgraced former mayor who once promised a comeback. Judge Nancy Edmonds said she could have given Kwame Kilpatrick a life sentence for his sweeping corruption in public office. But instead, she limited his sentence to nearly 3 decades for his convictions on racketeering, bribery, extortion, mail-in wire fraud, and tax crimes. Kilpatrick cried several times as he quietly told the judge he was sorry for letting so many people down, but he still would not admit that he stole from the city. Judge Edmonds sent a powerful message to public officials, saying they must be accountable to the citizens.
She said this is a new time. It's accountability and transparency in government was important. I think that's what drove her decision today.
The judge said it was hard to quantify the cost of the, quote, corrosive pay-to-play system that Kilpatrick put into motion in the city. Instead of realizing his potential, the judge said he abused the public trust by choosing personal enrichment over integrity. Kilpatrick's attorney called the 28-year sentence excessive for a non-violent conviction and said it was hard to see Kilpatrick break down in tears.
It was an emotional time. It would be for anybody in that circumstance. It was an emotional time for me, and I'm there as a lawyer and not as the person who was sentenced.
Kilpatrick will now be separated from his family for decades. Meanwhile, the federal agents and prosecutors who spent countless hours investigating the former mayor and the 34 other people convicted in the City Hall corruption probe say they can now finally spend some time with their loved ones after years of sacrifice.
Well, we're just happy to go back and go to our kids' soccer games and actually start living a normal life again.
Absolutely. I mean, we were talking about that there are parts of 2012 that we just kind of don't remember it actually happening with our family. So it's been a tremendous sacrifice, but not just for us, for everybody on the team, the agents, everyone. And it really has been a team effort. So we commend our team.
So here's the breakdown of how the judge handled the sentence. Kilpatrick got 20 years for the RICO and extortion convictions. She gave him 7 years for all of the mail and wire fraud convictions, and then he got an additional year for the tax convictions. That, of course, brings the total up to 28 years in prison. Kilpatrick is still in custody right now, and his attorney does plan to appeal this. Reporting live at the federal courthouse in downtown Detroit, I'm Heather Catala, 7 Action News.
Certainly a busy day. Thank you so much, Heather, for all of your coverage.
The U.S. attorney in Detroit tonight believes justice is served by that 28-year sentence.
Barbara McQuaid says it sends a very powerful message that goes way beyond Kwame Kilpatrick.
This case is not so much about punishing people for the past, but about shaping our future. In the future, with a message like this, it is very clear that public officials will be held accountable in the city of Detroit, and we hope that it will deter people from abusing their public office and encourage good and honest people to seek public office.
Now, Kilpatrick has often relied on his family for support through all of the scandals that he created. But the big question is, were they in the courtroom today? 7 Action News investigator Ross Jones continues our team coverage live from downtown to Ross. Ross, were they in the courtroom?
Well, Stephen, the ex-mayor has relied on his family for a number of court appearances in the past. They were not there today. Kilpatrick decided to fly solo. On maybe the worst day of his life, Kwame Kilpatrick's wife and kids were nowhere to be seen. He wanted it that way, he said, choosing to shield them from cameras and reporters. But some supporters showed up anyway, and in the minutes after Kilpatrick's 28-year sentence was handed down, they agreed it was too harsh.
He hasn't done any worse than other sitting mayors in this city when you go way back to Mayor Cobo, Mayor Kavanaugh, on and on and on.
In an emotional 25-minute address to Judge Nancy Edmonds, Kilpatrick offered an apology that was at times meandering, remorseful, and even a little defensive. He said being mayor of the city of Detroit was his dream job, and when he was elected at only 31, he learned quickly that it wasn't what he thought it would be. I wanted to be mayor of the city of Detroit. After spending months on the job, 6 months, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Kilpatrick said he was never truly happy until he left Detroit in 2008 after the text message scandal, where he says he learned how to be a real dad and husband. He nearly broke down when he talked about his father, Bernard, who's still awaiting sentencing on a tax charge. He talks a lot of stuff, but he's not a criminal. My father and mother divorced when I was 10 years old. My father picked me up from school in the 5th grade and told me I'm going to be here for the rest of your life. And he did. Every school, every game, he taught me how to be a man. From the moment he walked into the courtroom today, Kilpatrick seemed almost resigned to his fate, as if his mind was somewhere else. Before sitting down, he told Judge Nancy Edmonds he was worried about how his sons would do without him. 7 out of 10 black boys don't have a father, don't have a relationship, he said, and there's 3 more that won't now. And Kilpatrick's youngest son, Jonas, is only 11. He was only a few months old when his dad was elected mayor back in 2002. He will be 39 when his dad gets out of a prison cell. We're live outside federal court tonight. I'm Ross Jones, 7 Action News.